Hi, welcome to your 6-7 flip video. 6-7 is called problem solving, and in 6-7 there's actually no new information. This is all the information in topic 6, but in more complex multi-step problems. So it really takes all the information that you know from topic 6 and asks you to apply lots of it together. So things that we have learned in topic 6 would be things like how to convert fractions to decimals and percents and the opposite way. Percent error equals estimate minus actual, the absolute value of that over the actual. Terminating versus repeating decimals, percents greater than 100% and percents less than 100%. So this video is actually a working through of your 8 homework problems. So let's get started. The first one you have says a person earns $16,000 for 1 year and gets a 5% raise in salary. Can you calculate the new yearly salary using a percent greater than 100? So important information. Let's go ahead and set that up. 16,000 plus 5%. You make 16,000 and you get a 5% raise. So you get your 16,000 plus an additional 5%. But what's that 5% of? That's 5% of the 16,000 you make. So that we know how to translate to math symbols. 5% is 0.05. Of means multiplication, 16,000, 16,000. So when you do 0.05 times 16,000, you get 800. So now you add that 800 to the 1,600 you already make. So you had 1,600, that 5% raise is an $800 raise. So you get 16,000 plus 800 gives you $16,800. And that is your rate. All right, so calculate the yearly salary using the percent greater than 100. So we solved it and we broke it up into pieces. What you can also do is calculate it using a percent greater than 100. Start off with the same thing, 16,000 plus 5%. 16,000 is 100% of what I currently make because it's all that I make, and I'm getting an additional 5%. So I'm at 100%, I'm making an extra 5%, so that means I'll get 105% of what I currently make. So that's 105% of 16,000. So that changes into 1.05 times 16,000 when I change that percent into a decimal. So 1.05 times 16,000 gives me 16,800. You get to the same place no matter how you break this up. So we'll have several problems like this throughout the video. You have that opportunity to choose how you want to solve it. All right. Notice that that is 105%, so it's a percent greater than 100. I've met the requirements of the problem. I will not ask you to do it one specific way. You'll have the choice. All right. Next problem, a jewelry salesperson earns 6.6 1/4% commission on sales. Say he sold $7,310 in jewelry. What was his total commission earned? Important information, 6 1/4% commission. He sold $7,310. What was his commission? So for this, we're going to use part equals percent times whole. The 6 1/4% is my percent. My commission would be the part that he takes home, and the total amount of jewelry he sold is our whole. So I can plug these numbers in now. Part equals 6 1/4% times 7,310. So I got to convert that 6 1/4 to a decimal, to a decimal form of the percent. So 6 1/4% is what in decimal form, so I can multiply by 7,310. So 6 1/4 is the same thing as 6.25, so this just changed into 6.25% times 7,310. But now I'm still in a percent, so I have to switch it over to a decimal. This gives me 0.0625 because I took 6.25 and I divided by 100, and to multiply that by 7,310. So I get part equals $456.875. Notice here that it says round to the nearest cent. So the cent is the 100th spot. So I'm going to draw on the line. Anything, we're going to round up at that second decimal point. So 5 is greater. 5 is in that next decimal spot, so I'm going to round that 7 up to an 8. So he makes $456.88. Our next problem says 3 friends go grocery shopping and the total comes to $70. Each friend gives the cashier 34% of the total. What is the percent they overpay? What should be the total amount of their change? So, important information. And then we can break it down from there. So if 3 friends each So if there's 3 friends, they should each pay a third of the total. One friend pays 1/3, another friend pays another third, third friend pays the final third. All right, and this makes sense if you visualize it like that. So if you have a circle, a pie, pizza, and you divide it by 3 friends, each friend gets a third. And I know 1/3 is a fraction. I can convert that to a decimal, which is 0.3 repeating, and I got that through the long division. And you'll see the ones are your remainder once you start adding point zeros to expand that dividend. So you get 0.3 repeating, and I know 0.3 repeating is 33.3%, 33.3 repeating percent. So I know that I'm a little bit off if everyone pays 34%, okay? So if everyone pays 34%, and person number 1 pays 34%, person number 2 pays 34%, person number 3 pays 34%, that means if I add up their percents, I get 102%. You don't want to pay more than your bill, you only want to pay 100%, so what's the difference in percents? Well, if I pay you 102%, but you only need 100%, I overpaid you by 2%. So that your friends overpaid by 2%, all right? Now we can use that information to figure out what should their amount be of their change. So we can do 34% of 70 to figure out how much each friend is going to pay exactly, because each friend is paying 34% of the total bill. So 34% of 70 turns into, and this is part equals percent times whole. I'm figuring out their part. Their percent is the percent that they pay, and the whole is our total bill. So 34% of 70 turns into 0.34 times 70, which gives me $23.80. So if friend 1 pays $23.80, the next friend also pays $23.80, the next friend also pays $23.80, because they all pay 34%, so their amounts would all be the same. And so if you add those up, 23.8 plus 23.8 plus 23.8, that's the same thing as 3 times 23.8, which this is an additional step. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can just add them. But I think it's helpful to see each friend pays $23.08. You have 3 sets of that. 3 sets means 3 times that number. So how much did they total pay? They paid $71.40. So if their bill is $70, they overpaid by how much? Well, I'm going to subtract the 2. They overpaid by $1.40. And then you go. You've answered the question. All right. Last year, college tuition was $41,500. This year, the tuition increased by 4%. Find this year's tuition using a percent greater than 100. So let's do that. 41,500 plus 4%. That's 100% plus the additional 4%. So it's 104% of last year's. All right, so I can do 104%, which turns into 1.04 when you turn it into a decimal. Of means multiplication. Last year, it was 41,500, so I can just plug this in. 1.04 times 41,500 gives me 43,160. So if you have 43,160. You could also do this the other way where we talked about splitting it up. 41,500 plus 4%, and that's 4% of last year. So 4.04 times 41,500 gives you $1,660. So it's your $4,150 from last year plus your $1,660 increase, giving you $43,160. So I'm just showing you that you get to the same point no matter which method you choose. It looks to me like the first one is a little bit less work, but you get to pick. All right. A football player completes 60.8% of her passes last season. She threw 250 passes. How many did she complete? This season she has thrown 357 passes and has completed 194. How much did her completion percent change from last season to this season? How did the number of completed passes change? So important information here. I'm going to try and highlight in different colors to highlight the questions. So let's start breaking this down. We're going to use part equals percent times whole. 60. So let's start off. How many did she complete for last season? So she threw 60. She completed 60.8%. So that's your percent. She completed she threw 250 total passes. Her number of completed passes will be your part. So part equals 60.08 times 250. She completed 60.8% of that 250 of multiplication 250. So 60.8% turns into 0.68. 0.608 times 250, so she completed 152 passes. That's part numero uno. All right, the second part says she has thrown 357 passes and has completed 194. How much did her completion percent change from last season to this season? Well, I don't know this season's completion rate, so I have to figure that out. So if she threw 357 and she completed 194, we can find that completion percentage rate by doing 194 over 357. Our part over our whole is our percent, so she completed 0.5434. So if you go into your calculator, do 194 divided by 357, or you can do the long division, you get 0.5434. Move the decimal 2 to the right, aka multiply by 100, you get 54.34%. So she was at 60.8%, and then she went to 54.3%. So what happened? Well, it went down by 6.5. So on digits, you would select it decreased by 6.5%. All right, and I notice here though, the reason that you don't need to change those percents into decimal form is because this is 60.8% and this is 54.3%. So this would make this 6.5%. So it's already in percent form. You're comparing percents to percents. You don't need to change it to decimal form. All right, that last question, how did the number of completed passes change? Well, this one's easy. We've already calculated her completed passes this year. It's 152. Last year was 194, so last season 152, this season 194, so she went from 152 to 194, so what happened? You increased by 42 passes, so it increased by 42, and that's what you'd select on digits. All right, next question, we're on 6 out of 8. 3 adults go out to dinner, and the total comes to $32 after tax and tip. James will pay 34% of the total, Caitlin will pay 50%, and Amari will pay 17%. If each person rounds up to the nearest dollar, what percent will they pay? So important information. Notice that I highlighted rounds up to the nearest dollar. That's some pretty vital information here. All right, so we have $32 and we split it up. James will pay 34, Caitlin will pay 50, Amari will pay 17. So we're going to use part equals percent times whole for all of them to figure out how much each is going to contribute to the bill. So James, 34% times 32, that's 0.34 times 32, which is $10.88, round up to the nearest dollar, $11. Caitlin, same thing, 50% times 32, 0.5 times 32, $16 even, no rounding needed. And Amari does 17% times 32, so 0.17 times 32, $5.44, rounds up to $6. Rounds up to the nearest dollar, okay? So, now if we combine everyone's contributions, we get $33, all right? So, if I pay $33 and my total is 32, how much did I do? I overpaid by $1. So, what the question is asking, what percent did they overpay? So $1 isn't a percent. That wouldn't answer the question being asked. I overpaid by $1 out of a total of $32. So 1 over 32, that's a fraction. I can convert fractions to decimals and decimals to percents. 1 over 32 is 0.03125, which is 3.125%. But it says round to the nearest tenth as needed. So let's round to the nearest tenth, 3.1%. So I overpaid by 3.1%. Not that big deal, not that big of a deal, but someone is owed $1. All right, next problem, 7 out of 8. 6 roommates buy a sofa for $7.80. If each roommate pays 15% of the price, will their total amount be equal to the price of the sofa? If not, what percent will their total differ from the price? So important information here. There's a couple questions going on. So 6 roommates buy a sofa for $7.80. So that means 6 roommates, each one will pay 15%, so 15% plus 15% plus 15% plus 15% plus 15% plus 15%. If you add up all those percents, they've only accumulated 90%. So 90% is less than 100%, because 100% is all of it. So I can get rid of C. Yes, their total will be equal to the price. That's gone. So now it's just A or B. Will their total be greater than the price, or will their total be less than the price? Well, if I'm paying 90%, 90% is less than 100%, so I am paying less. I don't have 100%. I'm below the amount I need. So let's figure out that percentage that we're off by. Well, 90% of the cost, that's how much I have. So 90% is 0.9 of means multiplication. My cost is $780. So 0.9 times 780 gives me 702. I've produced, the 6 roommates have produced $702 out of $780. So we're $78 short. So now I can do 702 over 780, which gives me 0.9, which is 90%. Well, I already knew that. I knew I was at 90% because we did the 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15%. So if I'm at 90%, how much less am I than my total? Well, I'm 10%. I'm 10% less than what I need. So we kind of did a few extra steps there. You could really get rid of everything below this line, right? Because you know from 90% to 100%. But I think it's still good practice. Last question. In October, store had 225 customers purchase items. In November, there were 12% more customers. What equation can you use to find the number of customers the store had in November? Use the equation to write a percent greater than 100 and find the number of customers in November. So important information. I've highlighted October and November in different colors. And then what equation have we talked about? Part equals percent times whole. So you can get rid of these other ones. They're all variations of part equals percent times whole if you move things around. I would suggest sticking to what you know. Don't start moving around pieces and then confuse yourself. So what can I do? Well, I know I had 225 purchase items. I know I had 12% more, so I can use part equals percent times whole. 225, this is very similar to question 1. If I'm at 225 and I increase by 12%, well, that's 100% plus 12%. 100% of last month, 12% increase. So this month I'm at 112% because 100% plus 12% is 112%. So 112% of last month, so of 225, so 112% turns into 1.2 times, because of means multiplication, 225. So I have 1.12 times 225, which gives me 252. So how many customers were in November? 252. That's it for for 6-7. 6-7 is the last part of topic 6. So you now know everything you need to be successful on your topic 6 assessment. Let me know if you have any questions, and that concludes everything.